Hocus Pocus Focus Group. John and I did some focusing in New Hampshire on Tuesday in conjunction with the firm Purple Strategies. Yesterday, we showed you the Republican group and then separately the Democratic group. Tonight, we're mashing them up together. We're going to show you some similarities between the two groups and some differences in how the Republicans and the Democratic groups felt. First, let's look at how they felt about Republican Jeb Bush. What do you know about Jeb Bush?
I can't tell you that much specific about him, but I know that I was in and out. It wasn't one that I spent much time looking at. I felt like a lot of the things, the facts I looked up about him weren't very compatible with me.
First of all, could you imagine voting for a Republican?
I want Hillary to win, but I could live with Jeb Bush.
Wow.
Hey, he's pretty moderate.
I just don't like his stand on immigration, things like that. It's not somebody I would vote for.
I think his support of the Common Core may be an issue for him.
He's got to stand on immigration. He got to believe in. He's big on schools, education. Those are big issues for us, boys and girls, aren't they? I mean, that's part of who we are.
Being the son of the father and the brother of the latest Bush president is going to leave, I think, a mark on at least a percentage of the people where he may be able to pick up the vote. So I think he'll be losing at least a percentage of the votes just having that name.
I would listen to him. I would. I would listen to Jeb. Don't know for sure if I would vote for him, but I would listen. I would. He could change me.
He could.
I think that's just going to, he's not got any chance at all, really.
Democrats open to Jeb Bush, Republicans not.
So is this the reason the Clintons have been saying very, well, quietly, but not so quietly, that he's the candidate they're most afraid to run against?
I think so. There's some crazy conspiracy theorists who say the Clintons are sneaking out the notion that they're afraid of Jeb because they want Jeb to be the nominee because they think he'd be easy to beat. I think it's pretty clear. Former governor of Florida with his appeal to Hispanic voters and raise a lot of money would be a pretty strong, I think the strongest right now general election candidate. But it's incredible how close the Republicans are to Jeb. And in a room like that where you're with Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, it takes a lot of courage in front of strangers to say, as a couple of them did, hey, I'm open to Jeb Bush. And to say, I'm open to him because he's speaking on our issues. Just so striking. You wouldn't hear anybody in the Democratic group, I think, say that about Chris Christie, Scott Walker, even a Marco Rubio. And on the Republican side, obviously, no one was open to Hillary Clinton. They all detest her. So that, to me, again, as a focus group, just as a little indication, dangerous for Jeb Bush if Democrats like you more than Republicans and you're trying to win the Republican nomination, but powerful as a general election argument.
Unless, given how unknown he is to a lot of Republicans, he makes a big push in terms of introducing himself and then
that's what he can do. But it was interesting that the Democrats seized on the exact same issues. So the very reasons Republicans don't like Jeb Bush, that he supports Common Core, he supports a path to legalization or citizenship on immigration, that's what the very thing the Democrats in the Democratic group said, well, we like him because he's talking about our issues in an inclusive way. So there's an awareness there on both parts about both sides about parts of his agenda. But as I said, incredibly different reactions. I was as surprised at the openness to on the Democrats' part to Jeb Bush as I was the Republican hostility.
Yep. All right, here's another key difference between the two groups. Democrats appeared to care more about nominating someone who is the most electable, meaning who has the best chance of winning a general election, whereas Republicans gave the impression that they wanted to find their political soulmate.
You know, when you think about who you would want to support in the Democratic primary, do you think mostly in terms of their ability to win the nomination, that being ability to win and then win the general election, that electability?
Yeah, I like Bernie Sanders, but you know, that's issues, but electability is a factor.
Consistency is important, and the idea of electability generally doesn't enter into my thought process until later on.
Electability becomes a Trump consideration for me because I think the worst Democrat or liberal is better than the best conservative I know.
Who says they're not electable? They're absolutely not electable if you don't vote for them. So you have to get out, you have to vote for the candidate you trust in, and hope that everybody sees what it is you see in them.
I think the country's ready for a moderate Democrat. I think Hillary's moderate. I think Elizabeth Warren, as much as I like her, is too liberal. Even though I like a lot of the things she's for, she's too liberal.
I think it could potentially solve itself once you pick what I think it would be the right candidate, regardless of whether some talking head says that person is electable.
All right, so that's another big difference, in part because you've got Republicans who are really interested in winning, which is normally what Republicans really, Democrats really interested in winning, which is normally what Republicans are. In my career, I generally find Republicans are a little bit more focused on who can we nominate, who can win, and Democrats are sort of trying to fall in love with somebody.
But Democrats, here's what I mean. I felt like it showed that they're not in love with Hillary Clinton, and they're looking for sort of a justification for why they're supporting her.
They're just being clear-eyed and cold-hearted, sort of, and saying we like her because she can win. Now they like other things about her. Fascinating, though, to me that the Republicans who've lost the popular vote in 5 out of the last 6 elections are not trying to say, as Democrats did after they lost elections in the 70s and 80s, who can win. They're like, the sentiment of the group overall, as you saw there, was, I want somebody who I really like, and hopefully they can win, but I need to find someone I really like. That is the opposite of what Republicans, and a surprising place for them to be. Again, they've lost 5 of the last 6 popular votes.
But look at this field of Republican candidates compared to the last 2 elections. I mean, this is the strongest field you've had in years.
Maybe, but they still got to find a winner.
People who've accomplished things, whether they've
but how many
you
of them can actually win?
How they'd want to take their time and get to know them because they're all bringing something to the table.
Maybe they think lots can win. All right. Those are the 2 pretty big differences between the groups, but here's a similarity. Both Republicans and the Democrats gave basically the same answer when we asked them about partisanship and dysfunction in Washington.
But what do you think we're not seeing progress to the extent that we should? What's still not right?
I think nothing is getting done. I feel like we're just spinning wheels because anything that's introduced, Congress says, no, we can't do that. We can't do this. We can't do that.
Now there's Republicans are, it's got to be our way, and Democrats, it's got to be our way.
And work with people and bring people to the table and hammer out the differences that they have and come to some reasonable decisions.
I think we should have a measure to evaluate the progress of Congress, and if they don't make any progress, they shouldn't get paid.
We do.
I mean, honestly. No, but I don't think they should get paid if they don't make progress. They're just not doing anything.
Nobody's working together. Nobody's.
There's no team. It's not a team.
So does everybody here think the fact that Rand Paul works with Democrats in the Senate is a good thing, or does anybody think he shouldn't be fraternizing with the enemy?
Well, I think it's not black and white. It depends on what it is you're working with.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, that's a good thing. There's other issues notwithstanding. We need more of in all sides.
And that's a polarized group. I mean, it just shows it represents kind of where the country is right now. That's a little bit of hopelessness around bipartisanship.
For both parties, and they both like people who can work across the aisle, including the Republicans liking Rand Paul for working for Democrats in a group that was pretty partisan. That stood out.